Welcome to the Freight Project podcast, brought to you by Cerasis, a North American third-party logistics company providing shippers transportation management technology and solutions.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Freight Project podcast. On today's podcast episode, Cerasis welcomes Darwin Porter, the Cerasis Network and IT Manager. Darwin's role at Cerasis is supporting and maintaining the network and server infrastructure. You'll get to learn about how Darwin first joined the Navy, but quickly saw great opportunity nearly 20 years ago in technology and network management after having a valued mentor. On this episode, Darwin and I will discuss, after having worked at Cerasis and in the transportation management space for nearly 15 years, what are the biggest changes that Darwin has seen over the years in technology in the transportation industry. Darwin then shares from his experience what are the lowest hanging fruit technologies that shippers could implement to increase efficiency that would add a lot of value to their organization. And because of his work to make sure all of the Cerasis technology runs smoothly, and as we ourselves pivot to a cloud-first mentality, Darwin shares what his thoughts are about how cloud computing benefits the transportation industry. And finally, because Darwin is part of many technology platform implementations at Cerasis, like SalesForce and our customer service ticket portal, ZenDesk, he will share what are some best practices an IT department and supply chain and logistics executives should consider when implementing any new system like a TMS or WMS. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Freight Project Podcast. And thanks for being here today, Darwin. We're excited to hear what you do here at Cerasis and what your unique thoughts are from a technology standpoint for the transportation industry at large. So just so our audience knows a little bit more about who you are and what you do here at Cerasis, why don't you let the fine folks know your role and what you do for the company?
All right. Well, first off, I am a married person who's one daughter, which will be starting her high school years next fall. I enjoy spending time with family and friends, either with barbecues, as long as I'm not the one that's actually cooking.
Yep, exactly. That's the best kind.
So I love family time, barbecues, playing cards, just hanging out with family.
Awesome. And how long have you been here at Cerasis? You're kind of one of those legacy Cerasis employees who've been here for a little while.
Yeah, I've been around since 2004. I first joined Cerasis, so a little over 14 years. Started off in one capacity as far as maintaining rates or whatever within the system. And now my role is pretty much managing the infrastructure team at Cerasis as far as networking, servers, phone systems, anything physical on the network is our responsibility. Secondary role may be working with other Cerasis managers and trying to make sure we push the company forward. So that may mean dealing with a variety of different projects, helping the customer service teams deal with efficiency gains, helping the call center with call flows and routing. So just a wide range of responsibilities.
Excellent. Now, all the kids these days, they want to get into technology. They want to work in technology, but it wasn't as cool maybe, or a path that a lot of people looked at maybe a couple decades ago. .com hadn't hit quite yet. Little Darwin was just getting out the Navy. So how did you get involved in this industry? Was it more a love of technology or was it the transportation sector? Tell us a little bit about that.
No, it was actually, I had a mentor of mine when I was a teenager that I had seen. He was with the church we was going to. I seen that this guy had a decent lifestyle. So I figured out what he was doing. And I found out he was involved in computers, IT in some capacity. He actually dealt with mainframes back then. And so just kind of mimicked what he did And after I got out of the Navy, I enrolled and took some computer classes, and that was the start of it. So really, it wasn't cool back then for, the people that I was hanging around during that time frame. But, you see a person that's doing well, and you want to make sure that you can do the same thing.
Absolutely. I know for me, I wanted to be an actuary because for 50 years, it was voted the best job where you worked the least amount but made the most amount of money. But they don't tell you in those articles that you got to go to school for a while, that it's really hard, and you got to take a lot of tests. So I decided to work in sales and marketing because, well, I want to be able to make money, but don't want to have to go to school too long. So that was no. But given that experience that you have, especially from a technology standpoint, and especially in the transportation industry now for 14 years, you've undoubtedly seen quite a bit of change in technology. I know I have just in my 6 years. So what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in the years in technology or just in the transportation industry itself?
I mean, the biggest change for me is, back when I started in 2004, I think that Cerasis was probably one of few 3PLs in the market. It was, to be honest with you, I can't think of too many more that produced a web-based solution. So that in itself was that's the biggest thing I've seen is a shift in everybody has a solution or a cloud solution or a hosted solution that they're pushing on shippers. With the onset of on-demand computing or on-demand cloud-based systems, whether it's Azure or AWS or even off-the-shelf products, I think everybody has a solution. But, that solution is not a one-size-fits-all because essentially if you have a solution, you also have to have partnerships that make that solution workable.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. Technology, as I've seen it, has become quite a commodity and almost a check down when shippers are now looking to get solutions that make them more efficient at the management of transportation. And so, it's absolutely critical that shippers realize now that technology is not going to solve all of their problems, that it's going to take using technology that enables you to take out the tactics and the weeds of process to truly have a strategic partnership with that vendor who's providing it. And that's what's going to get it done. Technology alone is not going to get it done these days, as you said. But without it, you can't, as I said, take out some of that manual work, or some of that time intensive process that you don't need to do in order to get to focus on partnerships. So when it comes to technology, what are the lowest hanging fruit technologies shippers could implement to increase efficiency, in your opinion, that would allow them to reach their goals of more effective transportation management?
I would say the best thing would probably be partnering with a 3PL that has a hosted web-based solution, such as Cerasis, of course. But that solution will allow you to enter in all your information in one location and keep track of all that information in one place. So therefore, you're not dependent upon somebody on the dock to make several different phone calls to several different trucking companies trying to find the best price. We can do all of that from one interface. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You're able to get all that information in one place. We're also able to mass audit all of your invoices. So that too is taken out of the equation when it comes to an actual shipper. We're also able to give, a variety of least cost options across the board, across all the lanes that you may be shipping. So, I would say that you have to partner with somebody that can deliver the information via a web-hosted mobile type interface that allows you to put all that information into one place so you can run reports over the top of it, perform data analytics to figure out, what lanes are more profitable or what lanes are serving you better than others, what trucking companies are serving you better than others, so you can make the best decisions for your particular business.
Yeah, that's one of the things we were talking with Roger, our national sales manager, in another episode, is maybe I take it for granted. Maybe as a millennial, the way I've done my job has always been technology as an enablement tool to be more effective. And, I don't understand at all, shippers who aren't using what you described, like our Cerasis Rater, a transportation management system or some sort of rating engine that allows them to get analytics that keeps a database of your carriers. I just couldn't keep up with all of that. It seems very difficult for a shipper to do that on their own. Do you know of any homegrown systems that actually exist? And would you advise or not advise someone to do that?
I wouldn't recommend that. Back when Cerasis was founded, I think we started off that way as far as, we would make cold calls or calls out to different trucking companies, and getting, price information for particular lanes. But long term, that wasn't scalable. You can only make so many phone calls in a day. You can only, produce so many bills of lading with the pen and paper.
Yeah.
Or you can only keep so many records in an Excel spreadsheet before you have to hand it over to somebody else. So I wouldn't advise any type of homegrown solution as far as dealing within Excel or, you handwriting documentation, because that's just not scalable.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be error prone eventually, that it might work for a short period of time, but that you're going to end up maybe causing more headache than it's worth. And there's some great solutions out there to turn to, and that's one of the things I think, again, just seeing the industry change from a technology standpoint right before your eyes, being on the ground, floor of Cerasis's technology and what we've been doing and being connected to that. One of the most recent changes I believe we made was, and maybe you can clarify me with this one, is going from something that we used to host our Rater locally, and then we went to the cloud with AWS. So, why would we change to the cloud, and how has cloud computing benefited the transportation industry? And correct anything I said that was incorrect.
Well, we're currently in the process of migrating applications into Amazon. Back in 2007, we switched from, hosting our servers internally within our own Cerasis locations to partnering with a third-party colo site in which we house all of our servers in a data center here in Tulsa. One of the things one of the challenges that we've experienced is, as we want to be able to scale rapidly, we have to procure the hardware, we have to get the hardware in, we have to patch it, we have to do all those different things in order to spin up this hardware in order to get some new piece of functionality off the ground. And so, that may take, weeks to months in order to get that functionality in place. As we move into Amazon, we can shorten that time span from weeks to months down to maybe a few days, because AWS handles all the hardware. They handle, as far as the infrastructure is concerned, all the servers, the computes, all of those things Amazon would take care of for us. All we have to do is worry about developing the application. So that's a huge benefit. And we only pay for what it is we use. And so if we're not using it, we can spin it back down. Whereas if we have committed to physical hardware, if we are talking about compute cycles on a weekend, because normally our business cycles in transportation are Monday through Friday. So, Saturday and Sunday, pretty much our servers are idle. So within Amazon, we're able to spin down servers because we're not using them. And so that in itself is a huge benefit, a cost benefit for us long term. So we can have, faster to market as far as the functionality, and we're only pay for what it is we're using. So cloud computing itself is a huge benefit for us.
Yeah. And, I know that it's been touted about for creating supply chain efficiencies, And as we get more technologically advanced, and everything's done either on our phone and probably soon implanted within my medulla oblongata or cerebral vortex, whatever the robot overlords do to me in the future, I'm ready for it. But everything's connected. We've had an integration product, which we're now calling Cerasis Bridge for quite a long time. There's always been some form of ERP, database-driven inventory technology. There are now things like warehouse management system, yard management system. Blockchain might be coming on in the future. The Internet of Things, whatever. It's a lot. Big data. Those are big buzzwords. And we talk a lot about that on our blog and in our white papers. But inherent in technology use are the risks involved in cyber security. I think the planet might have woke up in 2016 with Experian or Equifax's data being breached. The stories about Cambridge Analytica and the abuse of Facebook data and privacy concerns, and just the use of potential actions like phishing and disinformation to cause cybersecurity issues. What are some best practices that shippers and the industry at large need to consider when implementing any new system?
My take on that is, it all goes back to the basics. And so even if you take, securing your home or your automobile or things of that nature, you can have an alarm and all that stuff on your car or on your home. But if you leave the front door open, what good is the actual alarm? And so whenever you're talking about either cybersecurity or, breaches that's happened, the breach that happened with Target was kind of a third party issue. A lot of it is either social engineering, where people have given up passwords via phone conversations, or they've clicked on a link within emails. You have individuals that's not patching their system. So to me, it all kind of goes back to the basics. So irregardless of whatever the system is you're trying to implement, you need to be able to cover some of those things to make sure that the baselines are covered. And so, in a given environment, you want to make sure that, whatever devices that you have are up to date on whatever patches that need to be implemented for either the operating system or the software itself. You have some type of antivirus that's running within your environment that will capture odd activity. You want to make sure that any type of inbound traffic that you have coming into your network is either scanned or looked at by some device to make sure that anything that looks, again, out of place is kind of dealt with. It also goes back to even as simple as passwords. We have so many people that keeps the same passwords, year in and year out. And, and then they're not complex. So to me, it's just the basic things that irregardless of what solution you implement, as long as you're doing the basics, it'll take you a long way as far as making sure that you're not exposed or become one of those companies that you see on.
Yeah, you don't want to be one of those companies, and it can be pretty expensive to pay fines. But just the disruption to everyday business and being able to have your team at your company do its job day to day, it can be pretty costly. So, Darwin, thanks for your perspective. I think it's a unique perspective in the transportation industry. I think there's going to be a heck of a lot more Darwins in the supply chain space. I think there will be good degrees in it. In fact, there's a huge skills gap right now for the supply chain space when it comes to infrastructure, technology, IT in general, development. So great to hear your voice. We don't hear it enough in the industry, and here experts and practitioners are doing it every day. So thank you so much for what you do here at Cerasis and for your time today.
All right, no problem. I appreciate the time. And again, I think that as technology goes with Cerasis, I think we are in a good space. I think we're doing great things, and that AWS is going to take us well into the future.
Well, I'm excited to see what it can do for us and also our shipper customers. Thanks for everybody who listened today. Can't wait to have you next time and listen in to some more experts that we're bringing here on the Freight Project Podcast. Take care.